live, laugh.
That's cool. And we are joined by Reyhan Inteus today. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man. How y'all doing?
Doing good.
Pretty good.
We're excited to have you on. You are probably my favorite person on social media as far as probably in general, but definitely as far as wrestling goes. So we're expecting you to bring that same energy.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
A lot of pressure.
But yeah, thanks for coming on. We're excited to talk with you. Pretty big name. Nominee for Wrestler of the Year last year in the Carolinas. So you've got a good amount of
traction. Is traction the word?
Traction is probably the word. Yeah.
Traction sounds right. Yeah, sounds right.
So
momentum, maybe.
Yeah, we're hoping to get that Reyhan Inteus bump. Before we start, I haven't ran this by Christian. He might not like it, but
oh no.
Can you roast us?
Can I roast y'all?
No.
Yeah.
Oh man, not on the spot. Now you gonna make me do this? Okay. Get a little closer here on.
Oh no.
No, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna start off.
Okay.
We might
See,
end with a
that's
roast.
right there. That was respect. That was mutual respect.
Like, I knew that, like, content-wise, that would be fun. But as I said it, I was like, this is not going to be fun for us. So probably for the best.
So typically when I, like, me getting to roast people, I talk a lot of trash to a lot of people on a regular basis, but it's more personally catered. So as we spend more time talking.
Thank God we're strangers. Thank God we're strangers.
By the end of the episode, who knows? I might have enough, so we'll see.
We'll limit it to Christian. So, just pay extra attention to him.
All right, I'm focused on you, Christian. It's all on you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like to think this is like 20% a trash talk podcast, but 80% a wrestling, maybe like 50% wrestling. I'm doing math.
I don't know. We talk about catering a lot.
Yeah, but yes, this is at heart a wrestling podcast. So I guess where all wrestling begins is the year 1892 in the carnival scene. People it started out.
So the best place to start is the beginning. So what is your beginning with wrestling? Like, what's your earliest memory? What was that looking like?
Okay, so my very earliest memory, I was maybe 7. And it wasn't a big memory. It wasn't anything crazy. I was a wild kid. I like to go outside, play with my friends, jump in creeks, and do all this other stuff. Came in one Saturday morning, and a WCW show was on. Sat down to watch it because I'd never seen anything like it. And 3 minutes into me watching it, my parents came in the room and was like, "Yeah, turn that off." Like, right now. And I was like, "Oh, I can't watch this." And it was like, no, turn it off. So I turned it off, and then I didn't watch it for years. Definitely until I was in middle school, right when SmackDown started, because we didn't have cable. So we didn't have access to anything. So once SmackDown came on network television, that was my first introduction to really being able to sit down and sneak behind my parents' back to watch it.
Yeah.
Which I did for years after that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So even so much to the point where I would save up my lunch money to pay for the pay-per-views, or to have the money to pay for the pay-per-views. Once we did get cable. And I got whooped for it most times because I did it without my parents' permission. I would just order it. And then my dad would be like, "Why is there $50 on the bill?" I'm like, "Oh, I ordered a pay-per-view. It's $50." He was like, "Well, thanks for the money. You should have asked still." And then still got whooped either way. So
I love that, the ingenuity of just
that's fantastic of being like, yeah, I'm gonna eat a little here, but in about 2 months we're gonna catch up on this pay-per-view. So what was your parents' reasoning for not wanting you to watch wrestling? Because I wasn't allowed to watch wrestling until I was like 12 or 13. I don't know why that was even a thing.
They explained it to me later. They didn't explain it to me right then and there. I was young. I wouldn't have understood it completely. Growing up, I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. And then we have 2 adopted brothers that we got after, like, later on in life that came along. But as far as my parents go, this time I was the youngest, and I took after my oldest brother, who had a lot of anger issues. So me already being the smallest out of everybody that I hung out with, I was super short, super skinny, with a real short temper, and always wanting to like get physical with people. They didn't think wrestling was gonna.
Yeah, that's fair.
It felt like it would make it a little worse. Like, the last thing you need to do is see how you're supposed to beat up people.
Yeah.
You know. So
Yeah.
So that was the reason why.
I think it can make things better though, because like instead of like actually punching people, you're just like chopping them, and you're like getting creative with it, and like
every time you punch, you're stomping a little bit.
Yeah. He gave somebody a rock bottom at recess today. Like,
I mean, well, not recess. Once I got to high school, maybe.
Yeah.
Like on the desk at school in class, I got in trouble for that once.
Yeah.
Which kind of pretty much proved their point. Like, you know, we didn't want you doing this because you was gonna do it on people. And I started sneaking behind their back watching it.
Yeah.
And the first thing I do when I go to school is start hitting wrestling moves on people in school. So I was like, oh, maybe they had a point.
Yeah. What attracted you to it, to the point where you would kind of save your money, sneak around, like risk the spankings for wrestling?
It was The Rock. It was strictly The Rock. That was the whole reason. The very first thing that I remember when I watched the first episode of SmackDown I watched was The Rock cutting a promo. He was going in on Triple H, and he was just laying in. You know how Rock does. He talks to the kids, going in, boom, boom, boom. And like growing up where we grew up, like that was what we did. We trash talk people. You know, we roasted people. You know, we get up. My parents were religious growing up, so we spent a lot of time in church. And so Wednesday nights they had like a little separate area for like a separate building for the like the preteens and the youth and things and the teenagers. And we would go there during service, and they would teach us stuff, and then afterward we would just be eating snacks, hanging out, goofing off for like an hour or so till the parents came to pick us up. And that turned into what we would call, we did 2 things. We did roast circles, and then we did rap circles. So roasting circles, we stand in a circle and just start roasting people, and you know, and we didn't care if you got your feelings hurt. It was just, that was part of the game. The only way to get people to stop was to talk trash back. So when I saw The Rock laying into Triple H, I was like, oh, this is pretty much, and it was, you know, what we were doing weekly. So it was just like, I was like, oh, snap. So then in my head, I was like, I could watch him. Maybe that'll help me, you know, get better on my game on talking trash to people, you know, stuff like that. Only thing that didn't work out was, you know, I would use some of the lines he used, and of course, all my friends are watching wrestling, so they kind of back. But he stole that from The Rock. Oh, you watched SmackDown last week, huh? Okay. All right, that's so yeah.
I love the idea of like some people when they watch wrestling see like characters that they identify with, and like that's their sense of you saw talking shit and you were like, that's me.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I was like, oh, you talk shit. I can do this all day. That's perfect.
Yeah.
He is my favorite person forever now.
Exactly. So it was good. And then I was into that for a while, and a couple weeks later, like Tori Wilson showed up, and then I was just hooked from there. I was like, oh,
yeah.
You know, a preteen, man. You know, I was horny all the time. So it was just like, you see pretty girls coming on screen, and I'm like, well, I'm already watching this and having fun. Now I get to watch it and watch women too. So that's good.
I feel like that was the only time a parent ever walked in was during a Divas segment, and it's like, and it's like you're trying to defend it. It's like a sport most of the time.
I remember we went to Myrtle Beach for a vacation. No, we went to Florida. We went to Disney World, Florida for vacation for a week during the summer, and you know, they have cable in the hotels and the beach resorts there. So my parents were like, we'll let you watch Raw tonight, just tonight. And give you a try. And we didn't watch it right on time, so we went out to eat. So we came in, obviously this is before DVR and TiVo, so you just got to kind of pick up where it's at. And I kid you not, I go, so I can watch Raw tonight? They go, yeah. I said, if we see something we don't like, you turn it off. But if it's okay, we'll let you watch it going forward. And it's my moment. And I turn it on. Mind you, I've never seen Raw before, so I don't know what to expect at this point.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking it's going to be like SmackDown, but on cable. So I turn it on, and literally the first thing you see is Trish Stratus in her underwear. My parents were like, turn this off right now. I was like, didn't even get to see any wrestling. There was Trish. But then, of course, I was even further hooked because I was like, yo, that's
so this is what Raw is all about.
Okay, I'm missing out. So,
yeah. Right, so if I skip lunch on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and save that money,
what can I do to pay for cable? Like,
that's a fantastic start.
Yeah. Going back to the roast circles, do you remember, like, is there a roast that sticks out in your mind that you're just like, I'm proud of that one?
That I'm proud of? I don't know. I don't no. Only because it was a different time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you grow up, you mature, and realize certain things you're not supposed to say. But at the time, I was very proud of it because I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. So but now, it's not one of my fonder moments.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the reaction I needed. That was pretty cool. But I would never repeat it ever again in my life. Never.
Yeah.
So from a long-term perspective, how do your parents feel about you being a wrestler?
So the crazy thing is my parents have always been super supportive. I did a lot of things before I got into the business. Just kind of throwing stuff at the wall, see what sticks. Just trying. I don't want to find a career that was gonna be me sitting there at a desk miserable for 40 years. I wanted to find something that I was gonna enjoy, or at least be able to enjoy it for the first 20 of it. And then, if I get miserable after 20 years, then okay, well now we got some reevaluation to do. But so they were always super supportive, but I had done so many career switches by then that when I sat down and told him, hey, I'm gonna start training to be a professional wrestler, my dad always has the same response because he's very much with all of us, just me and all my siblings, and I get this from him too now. When someone tells me something, I'm just like, okay, I hear you, which means I hear what you're saying, but let's see what you do type deal.
Yeah.
So he would say that. He's okay, I hear you. And then that was all he would say. My mom pulled me aside and sat me down and was like, all right, man, you're mid-late 20s now at this point. You jumped around a couple times for careers. This is going to be real physically taxing on your body. So I just want you to make sure that if you really are going to do this, that you need to sit down and make sure you're going to really focus on it and really give it what you got and not half-ass it. So I was like, all right, cool. And she was like, don't just answer it right now. She said, take a week or two and really just think and make sure you want to do this. And then after that, it's on you from there either way. So I was like, all right, cool. So I took the time because me and my mom were like best friends. So I took the time out of respect for her and started through and told myself like, okay, so there's two ways you got to look at this. One, do you think you can be successful in this business? Which means you have to kind of describe what success would be. And then two, can you still be happy doing it even if you don't reach that level? So I told myself I'm going to give myself a full year of training and just going at it and seeing if it's something that I wanted to continue. And if in a year I hadn't fallen in love with it, I was going to stop. And I went to training the first day and fell in love with it immediately. So came home after training and talked to my mom about it on the phone and talked to her. And she, from the conversation we had, she was like, yeah, I can hear in your voice you're going to be doing this for a while. And I was like, yeah, I think I really found the one that I really want to kind of stick with a little bit. So they've been super supportive since. My mom's passed now. She only got a chance to come to one match before she died. My dad has come to multiple. He enjoys it every single time he comes out. And they just been super supportive. They bought merch. They wouldn't let me give it to them for free. They made me take payment for it. They've come to shows. They've brought people from my childhood, people from my former church, and everything. They were super supportive. My sister and brother would come out every now and then and check me out as well. Like everybody in my family nobody was like, you shouldn't do this. It was just everybody was like, make sure this is what you want to do before you do it.
Yeah.
So super supportive, which was kind of crazy because I was nervous because of how they were so anti-wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, growing up, I thought they were going to be like, no, but they were just like, I mean, by the time I decided, I was a grown man, I was making a lot better decisions than I was when I was a child. And I don't think they thought anger was an issue, which is, you really have to poke me to get me pissed off now. So it's like, or put me behind the steering wheel. I have real bad road rage. But other than that, I think she was just kind of like, no, I think they saw it more as an outlet. I look for creative outlets. I've always looked for creative outlets growing up to like release things that come in my head, whether it be through music, poetry, spoken word. Wrestling was a little bit different of a creative outlet, but the ideas that I get for it are things I would have never thought of thinking of, or ways to expand it. I don't think I could have ever touched any other profession creatively the way I've been trying to tap into wrestling, honestly.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. The way that you put it makes a lot of sense, especially like if you're watching this, listening, you're not familiar, you should go and check out what it's called. There's a specific name for it that's blanking, but like your series thing.
Get ready the Get Ready With Me series that I've been doing. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of those. And that's the funny thing is because it's like, people have gimmicks and they have like particular ways they expect you to cut promos. And stuff like that. Early on, I got so caught up in everybody telling me what I should and shouldn't do. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do this. Oh, in promos, you should do this. You should do this. And it got real stifling. And I was just like, well, if I listen to everything you guys say, I'm going to be cutting a boring promo. And I mean, we already have a hard enough time getting people to watch the video anyway. So it's like, my head was like, well, I feel like the more entertaining it's going to be, I think you can kind of start throwing some of those rules out the window. Like,
for sure.
I don't, other than like Emery promo, I don't typically tear people down in the promo. And even in that promo, it wasn't really a tear down, more like I've heard you can do better, so I'm expecting you to do better. And if you're not going to do better, then I'm going to rip you a new one for not doing better type deal. And I didn't trash anything about his in-ring ability. I just pretty much told him he was boring. And I think personally, this is just my personal belief, that since that interaction, he's been 10 times more entertaining. Inside of the ring, that same night that me and him had the match, there was White Mike called him Blandy Orton on a post. And so we're wrestling our match that night, and he hits me with Power Slam. Randy Orton snaps, Power Slam, or whatever. And as soon as he hits it, he out of nowhere just hits the Randy Orton pose looking at White Mike. And
there it is.
I'm laying on the ground like, look at this personality. This is great.
It was there the whole time.
Like created,
Let me not lose my title getting caught up. But I try not to like, I very rarely, unless it makes sense for the story, I'm not going to tear you down. In a promo. I'm going to talk trash, but I'm not going to discredit your abilities or anything like that. But it's just, I don't know. The Get Ready With Me series is, I have a tendency to get distracted very easily with stuff. So I'll be like, oh, these are the style of promos I'm doing for this point forward. So before the Get Ready With Me series, there was a style of like post-game press conference promos that I was doing. Where I'm sitting at a table, and I mean, all of my promos are me talking to myself, and I'm doing my own voices over a microphone or stuff like that. But I'm like having myself interview myself from the press conference and doing all these one-sided interactions, which were good and funny, but I wasn't getting people feel like they need to watch these type things.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I spent a lot of time on TikTok. I built a decent following over the pandemic, and Get Ready With Me videos were just a very big thing. And I was like, nobody's doing Get Ready With Me videos for wrestling promos, so let's do that and see how it works. And I think the first one I did was with Rob Killjoy for RWA. We did 3 of those, and I think I got so caught up in how much fun I was having. I didn't really care about how many people was watching the video.
Yes.
I just was like, I dropped the first one and was like, man, that was a lot of fun. I'm going to go cut 2 more. And I literally immediately went and recorded 2 more promos right then and there and edit them. I usually only do 1 promo per show unless, it's a big build or something like that. But I got so caught up in having fun with what I was doing with the Get Ready With Me videos. I was like, I'm going to do 3 for this one show. And then we carried it on. And there's other styles of stuff I do, like the current one I'm doing where it's I'm cutting a trailer promo and then the person off camera keeps having to get me to do retakes. Those are fun too, but it's just it's different stuff.
It's a really cool concept to you're doing genres of promo. Most guys are I don't know a good example. A Drew Hood promo is a Drew Hood promo.
Yes.
Each guy they have their style, and you're just what if I do everything?
Yeah,
and that's awesome.
That's exactly what I'm just let's see how far I can push it with different types of promos and see where I can go with it. So, I've been having fun with it. Promos have always been my favorite part of the business for me.
Yeah.
It's what got you into it.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's just what I resonate to. It speaks to me, and I love watching other people's promos, and I get caught up in what they're talking about. Simple as that. And it's just, I feel like enough people don't cut them. I just feel period. Guys don't cut them enough. Girls don't cut them enough. People are failing to see the value in them.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that we've been able to do at Chester is kind of show the value in the promo, because what I do with my Chester promos is I switch my music at APW Chester every 2 weeks. When they run every 2 weeks, and I always pick a different song, and the song is always whatever's playing at the end of the promo video. So once fans at Chester started figuring that out, they would watch the promo just to see what song I was coming out to at the end of the week.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Just little small things, but then because that's the reason they're watching the promo, now they're watching it, now they're invested, and now they're seeing what's going on.
Now that you got them there.
Exactly. So then when we come out, I'm going to get the big reaction for the babyface, and whoever I'm wrestling against as a heel is going to get one of their loudest reactions as a heel at that show, because we've gotten the fans invested through the promo work. So it's a lost art, in my opinion, that people don't take advantage of. So.
Yeah. Can we expect, I know you mentioned music at some point, a Joe Hendry-esque, a music video from you at any point in time?
Most definitely. So okay, so we'll give you a little peek into my creative process. So everything starts off as a non-wrestling idea for me. I often, very, very often, will hear a song, and while I'm driving or while I'm sitting at home, I will come up with my own music video for that song in my head. I'll play the song on repeat. I'll see specific parts in it and specific lyrics and things like that. And I've already I've got 4 songs that I was I can make this into a wrestling music video promo real easy. I just have to have the right storyline for it, or the right opponent for it, one or the other. So it's there as an idea. I just gotta make it. It has to make sense in my head before I put it out.
Yeah.
And I'm very over analytical of the stuff I put out. I told that there's like easily that last promo I just put up, Cam Jackson. I had to wrestle Cam Jackson this past Saturday, and I did another one of the like commercial director take videos or whatever. I told him, I told Cam actually, I told Cam this after the match on Saturday. I said, dude, I said that video was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I said there was 8 minutes worth of content in there, and I spent easily 2 hours trying to go through and decide which ones were going in and which ones weren't. Like, not 8 minutes of like the same take over and over again. I mean, 8 minutes of different takes every single time.
Yeah.
So like, I had way more stuff I could put in there. And I was just, no, 2 minutes is already kind of long for promos. I feel like, as long as it's entertaining, people will watch it still, but you still don't want to push it too much. So we cut a lot of it out, and maybe I'll do like a blooper later down the line with the stuff that didn't make takes. But
you like a Snyder Cut Patreon, where you
just something like that. Yeah. Open
that's cool.
And like release my unreleased promo work on
So, earlier you mentioned that question of what would success in wrestling mean to you. What does success in wrestling mean to you?
My main goal in wrestling, as far as what's considered to be successful, doesn't have to be a contract. I have to be able to provide for myself and any family or future family I have off of it. That doesn't mean it has to be the main source of income. It doesn't mean it has to be the only source of income. But, I'm getting up there in age now. So it's like at the point now where it's like, if you're going to keep doing it, it has to be beneficial. And, time's getting away from us. And, it's just like, I could be putting my energy elsewhere if I need to. But this is where I want my energy to go. So success to me just looks... One, I have to be happy. That's just all to it. And then two, I have to be financially stable off of it. Even if that means wrestling opens a door for another avenue of income somewhere else that's not wrestling related. If it even if I meet a contact that eventually leads me to success somewhere outside of wrestling, then wrestling was a success. It just has to, when it's all said and done, wrestling has to put me in a better place than where I was when I started. And that's just all to it. And on the flip side, for what I can do for wrestling to consider it a success is I need to make sure that the people that I've come in contact with and impacted feel like I've pushed them to be better in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's out of sheer competition, like me and Drew, or like Drew Hood and me are super competitive against each other completely. Obviously, he's one of the guys that I consider top promos in the Carolinas as is. Seeing him put up a good promo makes me feel like I need to put up a better promo, and vice versa. So in my head, that's me leaving the business better in some way, shape, or form, and the business also making me better because both of us are trying to top each other. So there's that. I consider that a success. If I have more people saying I pushed them forward instead of backwards when I leave the business, then I did what I was supposed to do while I was here. Contracts would be nice, but I also know sometimes I say and do things that aren't necessarily contract friendly. So if it don't happen, I'm not surprised. If it does happen, hey, I'll take it. I'll be happy with it. I'll make the most of it. But we're going to have fun with it either way, so we'll see.
Yeah. You mentioned The Rock, and I'm sure that's a big influence. Who are some of the other like big influences for you in wrestling?
Ernie Ladd was my favorite wrestler once I really got to dive into it. Him and Macho Man and Randy Savage. As far as modern day wrestlers go, I was very big on Dolph Ziggler for years because of as everybody says, is selling. Dolph.
Yeah.
Dolph is just one of those guys, you can put him in the ring with anybody, he's going to make him look like a star. And I think that is something that is lost on a lot of people, especially in just like indie wrestling alone. So many people get caught up in, let me do this spot because it's going to get me over. Let me do this because it's going to do this for me and it's going to push me here. And yeah, but at the end of the day, we are trying to all advance. But if every match, all you're thinking about is what you can do to get yourself over as opposed to what you can do to get the entire people involved over, the person on the other side of the ring, the storyline you guys are trying to tell, if there's an angle with referees or outside interference or things like that, the idea is to get everybody over. So I think Dolph became one of my favorites for years because I realized that as much as he wanted to be like world champion, the face of the company guy, he also understood that everybody can't be the face of the company. And if the company is deciding that he's not the face, well then okay, well let's make everybody else look like $1 million while I'm here. So he was a guy. Let's see. Eddie Kingston was a big influence when I first got into indie wrestling. Because I didn't know anything about the indies when I started training. It took me 3 years after I decided I wanted to be a wrestler to find a school to train at. I had no contacts. I had no clue there was indie wrestling running in North Carolina. I didn't even know how to Google how to get in the business. I didn't know there were wrestling schools or anything like that. I literally thought, you hear all these, watching these shows going up and you see like the guys in the audiences, like the Santino Morellas who get pulled out for the spot with Umaga. And I'm thinking, oh, that's how you get signed. You just got to be there. And kind of deal. So once I decided I wanted to get into it, I was like, well, clearly there's got to be more to it than that because everybody's not in the audience before they get signed. So I started doing some research, and eventually we found out, me and my roommate at the time had found out about, he had reached out to Jay Lethal because he was, my roommate was big. He knew about indie wrestling. I didn't. All I knew was WWE. He reached out to Jay Lethal, and took him a couple weeks to respond, but then he responded and told him about High Spots in Charlotte. Said, hey, check out High Spots. That's one of the schools in Charlotte I know that I would, there's some people there that are pretty well trained or from there that are pretty well trained, so maybe look there. And that's what put us on the path to get into the business. So like, I don't know, like, I guess that's pretty much it. Because of the fact that there were so many years I wasn't allowed to watch it, that there was there's a big portion of it that I missed. Like, I didn't get to watch the Monday Night Wars live like everybody else did. So a lot of those memories everybody had, I kind of missed out on. Truth be told, I haven't watched them still. I'm doing like a watch back right now, but I started a little too late. I started where my memory started. So I started with the Raw before the SmackDown, the very first episode of SmackDown. And I've been watching Raw and SmackDown and all the pay-per-views, and now Raw, SmackDown, and ECW from 1999 all the way up to where I'm at now at 2009. So I've done 10 years worth of wrestling in a year and a half worth of time. But wanted to go back and do the Monday Night Wars just to kind of get some insight on the WCW side of things. There's guys that came from
incredibly
WWE that as everybody tells me stuff, and I'll go and watch, like, people will tell me, oh, go watch this match for this one guy. And I'll be like, okay, cool. And it'll be like a Halloween Havoc match or something like that. So I'll go watch those. I've seen random matches. I just haven't watched things all the way through. And I was like, I feel like I probably would get a lot more from my time in this business when I go back and finish doing that rewatch of the Monday Night Wars. And that even maybe the people who are influencing like my in-ring styles and mannerisms and things like that might change as well. Because there's some guys that come in hot. Like, I'm a fan of their work, even if they don't last on WWE TV long. Like, Jerry Lynn was on TV for like 2 to 3 weeks, and I was like, yo, who's this guy? And then he was just gone. So I'm like, well, now I got to go back and watch ECW because I want to see old school Jerry Lynn stuff. you know. And he was one of the first like legends that I've met in the business when I got in. I met him at an airport randomly while I was doing a delivery for Hotspots. Luckily, he didn't ask me any questions about his previous matches because I would have looked like an idiot.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's maybe one more person. Obviously, Rock.
Yeah.
Goofy. I was a big Kane guy. Everybody was Undertaker. I was a big Kane guy.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Kane hit a real strong stride, like 2002 to like maybe I want to say late 2003, early 2004, and then going into like 2007, 2008. I got my first apartment in 2007. So from the time I moved into my first apartment, I could watch it nonstop. Obviously. So from that point forward, I've watched wrestling consistently. But obviously that's like 2007 is 8 years before I get into the business. So Kane was just somebody who like, I've always was like, yo, I get it. Taker's creepy and I love spooky stuff. I really do. It's like my area. That's why my first character as a wrestler was a monster gimmick that we're doing. But like Kane was just, I felt like, I don't want to say he was a better worker. I felt like he entertained me more.
Yeah, I get that.
There were more, Kane did a lot more character aspects. Undertaker was really kind of two ways. You had Dead Man and then, you know, American Badass. So like, obviously you got Ministry Taker and things like that, but that still really kind of falls under the Dead Man persona.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Kane, you had the mask Kane that didn't speak. You had weird robot voice Kane for the brief moment in time period. You had Kane without the mask, which is where I feel like really started to blossom. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like, and then like, you know, he plays back and forth for when he's going to wear the mask and when he doesn't. But there was just so many different character switches, it felt like, for him. And I was just like, man, every single time he changed or he went babyface to heel or heel to baby, I was always invested.
Yeah.
So, and I spent a lot of time, like when I first got in the business, I spent a lot of time watching Kane stuff because I was just like for character work and for like how he moves in the ring. Because he's a big guy who moves well. So I was just like, I'm a bigger guy. I was a lot bigger back then. Let me find someone who kind of does what I'm kind of looking to kind of lean into a little bit more.
Yeah.
Kane was a big influence.
Yeah, he was like Undertaker, obviously worker, 30-year career, but like Kane was on TV every like week having the matches that Undertaker wasn't like rightfully so. Undertaker, you saved the moments, but Kane was like always there. Yeah.
And I remember when I started watching, it was like 2008, and it was just around the time of the See No Evil movie. And I remember I saw that before I saw Kane, so I associated them as one of the. I was terrified of Kane.
Yeah. As you should have been. If your first introduction is See No Evil, then you see him on TV weekly, I'd be like, yo, why mess with him?
Like, and his theme with the lyrics was awesome, and he was he was working every week. Like Taker, there was a time when he was an every week guy, but Kane was an every week guy his whole career.
I don't know if anybody's paid attention to this. So, okay, let me preface this. In my rewatch, there's one person, Yaya, big time another North Carolina guy who, he had a lot of buzz, and then people, for whatever reason, doesn't get booked down here a lot. He gets booked up in New York a lot. But super talented. One of my best friends in this business, probably my best friend in this business, to be honest with you. But he's doing the rewatch with me. So when I started, because he got to watch this stuff live, so he wants to see how I'm reacting to stuff and see if it relates to how he reacts. Yeah. Me and him, and we talk about, you know, where we're at or where I'm at in the rewatch. I told him, I said, hey man, I don't know if you noticed this. I said, since we started this rewatch in '99, Undertaker hasn't worked a full year. He literally works a couple months and then he's off TV for like 6 or 7 months. From '99 all the way up to 2009, it's been consistent. He's never worked a full year from 99 all the way up to 2009. And I was just, every time the year switches, I always start, and I just started 2009 like last week. We're going into Mania now of 2009, so we're doing the whole Randy Orton Triple H storyline. Yes. Just
Legacy
amazing.
and all that
yes,
crap.
The start of Legacy, exactly. We are right there. It's in a beautiful spot right now. And as soon as I finished 2008 and we started 2009, I said, all right, let's see where Taker's at.
He doesn't do anything. He's catches back to Sean.
He's chilling until JBL and Sean just finished their story where, Sean was working for JBL. And now the week after they did the blow off for that, JBL says he wants to challenge Taker for a streak. And then Sean says, no, I'm challenging for a streak. So they wrestle. Sean wins. Now they're saying the winner has to face Vladimir Kozlov. Who hasn't shown up, but who hasn't shown up yet? Undertaker. Still haven't seen Taker. They didn't mention his name, but still haven't seen the man.
Yeah.
Like you saw him at the Rumble, obviously.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's not there. 2008 was probably the most active he was because he won the world title and had to deal with Edge. So I did notice he put more time in 2008 than I think I've seen the entire time that I've watched.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wasn't on No Way Out. I just finished that with the Elimination Chamber matches.
I'm gonna hold on to this piece of information, because people all the time talk about that. The Undertaker's one of the best work rate guys ever, and in matches you can argue that. But schedule wise, he
took his time.
The joke of the last 10 years was, well, he works once a year, but the fact that you could almost argue in the last 25 years, not working a whole lot.
Prior to the once a year thing, it was like he's working half the year almost. Like, okay, you guys get 6 months out of these 12. Y'all pick the 6, but I'm also getting those 6 off. Is what it kind of felt like. Or maybe it was just, he had put his time in and they respected the fact that, he was aging. Also, something that my first trainer, my original trainer, George South taught me was that, some guys, it was something he taught me coming in. He was like, because I was a lot bigger than guys you see on the independent wrestling scene as far as height and even weight, really. I was 6'6", 330 pounds when I started. So it's like, he was like, I'm going to tell you something. He said, honestly, the reason why Andre the Giant was such a big name was because you didn't see him all the time. He was a special attraction. So when I see Taker, only being there a couple of months at a time, then going off for a couple of months, then coming back for a couple of months, I kind of look at it like that. I think he hit the point where he realized I've kind of superseded just being a regular wrestler, and now I'm an attraction. Like, people literally come with hopes of hearing that gong. And like my trainer said, when you become to that point where you're the attraction, the more they see you, the less it means. So the scarcer it is that they see you, the bigger reaction you get when you show up, as long as they don't forget about you. And nobody's ever going to forget about Undertaker. So his gong could hit this Friday on SmackDown for no reason, and the crowd will lose it just because they think he's about to come out.
Oh, for sure.
Attraction.
Yeah.
So I think that's the stride he hit. The only thing is, I arguably said that Kane could have had the same level of, he's an attraction. Because people love Kane where I'm at right now in 2009. They're like, he's a heel because he's been beating up Rey Mysterio. But when his music hit at the Rumble, reaction. The Elimination Chamber match he was in No Way Out, when the buzzer went off and he came out, reaction. people are going to react to Kane. So he could have taken that whole I'm an attraction approach as well if he wanted to, but he didn't. And I'm not sure if he had the option with like management or booking or anything like that. But if he did have the option and he chose to work, I think that speaks volumes, because it's not like his work was going down while he was there. Brother was putting on some good matches.
He's kind of like the Dolph Ziggler kind of type, because he's the guy that everybody like. Kane was never going to win the match, but he was the guy that they built people.
A few years ago, there was a stat that like he had the most losses in WWE history, which was just that's crazy.
Wow, it's wild to hear, right? Like one of the biggest and most physically dominated guys has the most losses.
And it's not like with Ziggler, the kind of joke is like, well, he's probably going to lose, but other guy's going to look good. With Kane, you never believed he was going to lose.
Yeah, you always thought like, okay, well, Kane's going to win, and then for some reason he didn't. You were like, okay, well, the way they did it made sense, but I really thought he was
like
a
deal every time. Yeah.
So I think I would kind of say that. Like, Kane was one of those guys where maybe it's one of those things where he always felt like he's going to end up playing second fiddle to Taker. Because they kind of fall under the same character of big guys with like spooky characters type deal. So obviously, when you talk about horror characters to wrestling fans, the first person they're going to come up with is Taker. And then usually Kane's right behind it. But Taker is usually first. Yeah. Because he's the more well-known one. So maybe he was like, well, if I'm not gonna be the guy, like I said with Dolph Ziggler, if I'm not gonna be the guy, I'm gonna make everybody I'm in there with look like they're the guy when they beat me. And that's what they did, because people, they erupt anytime Rey Mysterio beats Kane in a match. Yeah. Might just be love for Rey, but I feel like it's got something to do with Kane as well. So
for sure, yeah. The last 2K game had that as part of the showcase.
Yeah.
With their big match with the stop sign and everything. And
really?
Yeah.
That was 22? 2K22?
Yes.
Yeah.
With the Rey on the cover.
That's the one I didn't get. I wasn't so I was not in the next generation system family at the time. I was only on PlayStation, which is wild because I still had a PlayStation 4, which a lot of people consider next generation still, but it wasn't 5.
Right.
Yeah.
So like I'm real weird about stuff. So like once gaming comes out, like a new system comes out, and in my head I'm like, they don't make the same game for the older system. They make a watered down version for the older system, which takes the fun out of it for me. So then like I was like, I got a PS4, I don't want WWE 2K on the PS4 now. So I mean I have a 5 now and 2K23 that I can't put the controller down on at all.
Right?
Yeah, it's great.
I lost a lot of time to 2K last year.
Yeah.
It was the first took me back to like playing on the Day of Reckoning on the GameCube. Like everybody's got like their favorite game. It took me back to like that point in time where it was just like, this is amazing, which I don't know that they've done before, but I definitely lost like a couple of months to last year's 2K.
To the point that like, so I've been playing it. I'm like, you need to get there's something you need to get, and he refuses to.
Yeah,
because he's like, I need the time.
I've been I was on the job hunting for the past 2 months. I was like, dude, if I get 2K, I'm never gonna get a job. So I was like, once I get my job, I will get 2K. But until then.
So I will venture off from wrestling for a brief second here. So I was very much I do DoorDash. That's my income right now outside of wrestling. So I was like, all right, well, DoorDash has been cool, but might need to go get like a Monday through Friday for a little bit, just kind of build up some extra money and kind of get some things in motion financially to kind of help fun things for wrestling. Better gear, well, more than one piece of gear at a time, more merch and things like that. Things that can help bring in more revenue and make me look more like a complete product type deal. So I said, it's like, I got the money to get a 5. I'm not going to get it until I get something stable work-wise. It's not DoorDash. And then So a couple months ago, there was a girl for my birthday. She told me she was going to get me one out of nowhere. I didn't ask her for it. She asked me what I wanted for my birthday, so I didn't want anything. And she was like, well, we got to get you something. And I was like, no, you don't have to give me nothing. And then we just, conversation continued, but it wasn't about my birthday or gifts or anything like that. And I made mention that I didn't have a PlayStation 5. And she told me she was going to get me one for my birthday. And she didn't get it for me for my birthday. So I was like, I cut her off because I was like, I didn't ask you for that. You unprovoked offered it, got my feelings and hopes all high and stuff. So just a little inside tip. So like Paramore was in town last night for Charlotte for a concert, and myself and you were?
Yeah.
Nice. Oh, me too. Yeah. We had me and Keith Mack were there.
I saw Keith Mack. Yeah. I might have seen you. Yeah, I was like, "Is that Keith?"
I was sitting with him. Yeah,
I saw him walking in the hallway. Yeah.
He was gonna get a beer if he was in the hallway by himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a Crown and Coke, so the same girl who had promised me the PlayStation 5 had been communicating with Keith over the past couple months or whatever, and he put me on his story last night while we were at the Paramore concert.
Yeah.
And I guess she saw it and felt guilty. So while I'm in the concert, I get an email from her or an Instagram message from her, just apologizing for everything. And then 2 screenshots from Best Buy saying that my PlayStation 5 would be available for pickup today at the store closest to my house.
So when you said, I recently got a PS5, you meant today?
Yeah, this morning, like at 10 o'clock this morning, I went and picked it up from Best Buy and have not gotten off of it until I had to go to the gym. I was like, I should go to the gym because I got this interview later and I should probably go to the gym now. So
thank you for I wouldn't have shown up. I would have been like,
no, like if you would have been like, hey, got PS5 today, can we reschedule? I'd be like, hey, please, I get it.
Yeah.
I got a day off tomorrow and I have nothing to do afterward other than eat. So we got plenty of time to really dive into the PlayStation 5 over this. So she got me the PlayStation 5 and bought me Hogwarts Legacy. Because,
that's great.
Yeah, which is wild because I haven't seen any of the Harry Potter movies, but I want to. Yeah. But the game itself, I'm big on like RPG video games and open world games and things like that. It's a genre that people don't really expect for me to play, but I'm very big on those. My wrestling persona is a guy who suffers from multiple dissociative personality disorder. It's almost like split personalities, except none of the personalities know of each other, except for the main personality, which is like an id persona, which is where
I've seen Split.
Exactly. So like, it's very similar to Split, and Glass, like that. There was a game in the 90s on PlayStation called Xenogears. It's based around this character called Fei Fong Wong, and he has that same symptom. So that's what I based my persona off because that was my favorite video game growing up. And a lot of times as I was moving up, people were like, man, your personality is like all over the place. We never know what we're getting with you. It's usually always good, but every now and then you'll get something random. And I was like, So when I got into wrestling, I was like, ooh, let's tap into that. Because the first thing my trainer told me was like, the people who are most successful are the people who over accentuate the better qualities of themselves. So I was like, well, let's take what I know about myself and try and maximize it for everybody. So I got my whole persona from that. But it's an RPG game. So that's where the love for it came from.
Yeah.
So then getting into like Final Fantasies and all this other stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
And playing those as well. I still do the sports games and the fighting games. And if you put a controller in my hand and put Injustice 2 on, I'm taking you to town. But the RPGs is where like I love good storytelling. So that's why it connects to me. And that's why it's probably all plays into the promo thing again too, because it's just like everything tells a story. And I love storytelling. It's just we're gonna get on Hogwarts, but I have a real weird let me watch the movies first before at least watch the first one before I start it.
Yeah.
It's one of those games that you could truly dive into with nothing because it's its own story, completely disjointed from everything.
Yeah, that's what.
Though I mean, I get wanting to watch the movies. I mean, they're great.
Yeah.
I just want to watch like the first one. Don't get me wrong. I've attempted to watch them, but I've attempted to watch them with people who won't typically let me watch the movie. The first time, my homeboy, everybody I've tried to watch it with are huge Harry Potter fans. People don't understand that when I've never seen it, you can't talk to me while I'm watching the movie because then I'm missing stuff. So like, I'll sit there and be like trying not to be mean, but also being very short and quiet because I'm like, we're watching the movie. Like, stop having a full-blown conversation with me. I'm trying to. Because when the second movie starts and I don't know who this person is, you're going to be like, did you not pay attention? I'm like, no, because you wouldn't shut the hell up. So, like, I've tried to watch the movies twice, both times. Couldn't finish, but the stuff that I was able to pay attention to caught my attention. It's just, people wouldn't allow me to finish it. So, now that, and then I procrastinate because I get in the habit of watching the same stuff over again. Or watching 10 years of wrestling in that year.
You've got 14 years till you're caught up, so.
Right. So like, but there's a stopping point with that though. So I'm just like, I'm only watching up till Dolph Ziggler wins the world title. And then we're going to put a pause on it and go watch WCW and some ECW stuff from back in, when they were in their prime. And really kind of dive into that. But
for about a year and a half, nothing better than WCW.
That's what everybody keeps telling me, and I really want to get into it and see. I'll be honest with you though. I'll say with the watch through, there's some hidden gem matches on like ECW, like the WWE ECW. Storylines aren't the best. I'm still kind of upset with how they did my man Finley because he was such a threat when he first came in.
Oh yeah, totally on SmackDown.
Yeah, he was. If you guys ever take the time to sit down and watch his like first year and a half, 2 years of wrestling with SmackDown, he was beating everybody's ass. Like,
that's when I was starting watching him and his shillelagh. Like he came out of nowhere. Like who the fuck is this guy?
And it was a style no one was working yet.
Exactly. He's so physical. I remember he was in a feud with Bobby Lashley. And it was just so funny to me because, you know how most typical feuds go, the babyface is up and then the heel gets on them and maybe they're out for injury for 2 weeks. And then the heel's doing something dirty to somebody else. And then boom, there goes the music, big pop, babyface culminates to save. And the heel takes a big move or powders or whatever. That wasn't Finley's story at all. Finley came in, he put the hands on Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley went out for 2 weeks. He came back while Finley was putting the hands of somebody else. The music hits. Bobby Lashley gets in the ring, and Finley decks him with the shillelagh immediately. I don't care if you just came back. Like, get out of the ring. Like, I said, yo, this man just beating everybody up. He don't care. And it was believable. It was so believable.
Yeah.
They did the whole angle with Vince and Swoggle and things. And then after that, it just seemed like he got pushed to more comedy than being a serious wrestler. And I was just like, man, there's a lot of guys I feel like could have got at least one world title run. Yeah. Like him and Regal, I think, are two big misses on world title runs. Especially Regal. Oh my gosh. After winning the King of the Ring.
Oh my God,
gosh, that man was masterful. I understand he got into some trouble that really kind of derailed anything they were planning for him at the time. But when I tell you, so once again, moved out, then moved back in with my parents for like a year. And they didn't have cable still. Eventually they got with Times. So I missed another portion of Raw. Yeah. And one of the portions I missed that I just saw for the first time through the watchback was when Regal won King of the Ring. And he was also the general manager of Raw. And there was just one episode where he just cuts the show off in the middle of the main event. Like, you don't see the finish to the match or nothing. Just cuts it off. And the promo package they put together for the recap made this man seem like the most evil genius in the world. And like, he had all the power in his hands. And you couldn't have, like, if I was living and paying attention and able to watch Raw in that day and age, back 2008 or 7 going into 8 or whatever, you couldn't have told me he wasn't about to win the world title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, his in-ring was on top. His promo game's always been great to me. And the character work was just untouchable at that moment. I think it's a missed opportunity. There's a lot of, watching back now, I think there's a lot of people I'm like, and why didn't they pull the trigger on? Hurricane Helms, when he came back for a United States title run, I felt like he could have got a United States title run when he came back with the It's Time entrance music. And he had like 2 or 3 weeks where he won his matches, which led to him having one-on-one with Shelton for the United States Championship. And they put on such a great match. And then Shelton still goes over, which Shelton's a great talent, one of the best in the business. Better be a future Hall of Famer. But I was like, man, knowing that Shelton gets multiple mid-card title runs throughout the course of his career, like, you probably could have pulled the trigger and let Hurricane get one United States run.
Yeah,
maybe not let him keep it as long as he kept the Cruiserweight title, but maybe like a month, like a transitional championship month, just to give him that title rub, and then maybe he drops it back to Shelton and continue the storyline. I don't know.
Yeah.
So speaking of missed opportunities, Drew Hood, can you confirm that he doesn't season his food?
I've never tasted it because I care about my health. I've seen his food in person. It doesn't look anything like the food I cook, even though it's the same food.
Yeah.
Like, his chicken doesn't look like my chicken. So
thank you for your time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say. Maybe he doesn't put paprika on it. I don't know. Maybe it just looks like flavorless chicken, but tastes amazing. I don't know.
Yeah.
He said he's gotten better, but he also has not posted anything.
Yeah. Okay.
He's gotten better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So people can say that all day. It's easy to prove that you've gotten better by, like, especially in the day and age of social media where you can literally just post a picture.
You just have to throw one picture up. Yeah. That's it. That's all we need.
That's all it takes.
Chicken next to today's newspaper.
All you have to do is take one picture, and then you just have to deal with like a week worth of people being like, "Oh my God, you actually season your food," and after that, you'll be good.
Yeah.
Being how entertaining he is, he just needs to do like a whole promo series about the character development of that he's finally seasoning.
Like taking a cooking class?
Yeah, that would be fucking gold.
That would be amazing. And that's more of the out of the box thinking that I'm looking for from people in their promos. Like,
yeah,
don't just sit there staring at the camera. Everybody does that.
Get out of your car.
Please get out of the car. Oh my God. Oh my God. Or at least do something interesting in the car. I've got an idea for a promo. I'm not going to say it because I don't want nobody to take it that might hear this. And I'm going to do it. I already told Jordan Holt. I already told him the idea. He was like, well, what's the purpose of this? And I said, just to have people be like, Reyhan, what the fuck? Like, seriously. It's going to be what you'll know because it's going to be a car video promo. So when I post it, you'll be like, oh, it's Reyhan in a car. Let's watch and see what he does. And when it gets to the point where you're like, I just realized what's going on right now. People are going to be like, okay, then people who don't know me as well are going to start to see how much is really kind of off up here. With me. Because the people who spend time with me, my friends love me. They do. And I love them. But I don't think anybody questions me more than the people that I hang out with because they're just kind of like, why do you think like this? What is wrong with you?
Who hurt you?
That's exactly what it is. That's pretty much.
Yeah.
I make a lot of dead mom jokes, and I make them at my own expense. And sometimes I go out of my way to get to the joke, just because I know it makes other people uncomfortable. It's just I have a dark humor too, but I also have a very weird sense of humor that's very sporadic, and it causes people to question my sanity a lot. It's really just a no filter thing, though. It's just like as stuff comes to my head, I just let it come out. But I know what's okay to say and what's not okay to say. Like, I'm never gonna cross like a politically incorrect line just for the sake of a joke. As simple as that. Right. But
maybe in youth group.
Definitely in youth group. But I mean, that's also, it's also coming from a very closed-minded set of individuals at that point in time. So it's like, the things that I said back then were okay with the group I was with. And if I was still in that group right now, they would still think there was nothing wrong with those jokes.
Yeah. My dad was a pastor growing up. So I'm very familiar.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
I get it.
Yeah, both of y'all understand completely. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. I do. Going back to your rewatch, this is the last thing I want to bring up. Can we talk about Heidenreich?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I recently started rewatching. Like, I wanted to go back and watch when I started. So, like, I started in 2004. That was like him and Michael Cole in the corner, him doing the poetry. Like, what was that?
Hey, man, I'm going to tell you right now. You can't tell me Michael Cole didn't get taken in that room. When he had let me break. Okay. All right, here we go. All right. So I watched that, obviously, through the rewatch.
Yeah.
And I remember that vividly because that was it was on SmackDown, so I was able to see and watch that. There are certain moments in wrestling where I'm like, this is supposed to be very prison-esque. And there's two moments in particular where it happened. And the first one is the Heidenreich situation with Michael Cole, where he takes him away from the commentary table and takes him to the back into a boiler room. And I'm going to tell you exactly how it looks on camera. All right. And this is why my brain goes to he had to get taken that night.
Yeah.
Before they go to commercial break, Heidenreich has Michael Cole against the wall. Michael Cole's face is against the wall and his back's to Heidenreich. When they come back from commercials, they're face to face. And I said, he got taken. This is let me cuddle you and snuggle you after moment. The second time where I was like, this is very prison-esque, was with Ryback, where he made the dude get in the shower, turn on the water, open up the bag. I was like, yo, what is going on? And why is this on TV? Because I feel like the next step you're not supposed to be able to show on TV. Like, at all.
Yeah, feed me more it takes on a very different meaning in that scene.
It really does. It really does. And I was just like, ooh, both of those moments. Heidenreich kind of frustrates me, and this is the reason why. So when he first came in, obviously he's green. You can tell he's green in the ring. But he's learning. You can see that he's starting to put it together, right? Yeah. Does he get to the point where you look at him and say, yeah, future world champion? No, absolutely not. But solid mid-carder? Definitely. Tag team guy? Yeah, it could work if you got the right person. The thing that aggravates me the most about Heidenreich, he started doing the poetry gimmick, and it wasn't getting over at first. But then it started to get over, and it started to get over really well, and they stuck him with the Road Warrior, and it killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, you don't see him no more. And I was just like, that freaking sucks. There's so many guys that I wish I knew, what happened behind the scenes on now, just because I'm like, I don't understand why they never, not necessarily made it to, main event, but why they didn't have longer runs or at least more opportunities. One guy in particular, where I'm at right now, well, I guess now he's gone technically. Manu, the Alpha and Sika's son.
Yeah, he was brought in to be in Legacy
for the Legacy angle. And
that.
so like when I got to that point of the watch back where he showed up, and then Sim Snuka as well, Snuka's son, or who was he, Deuce or Domino? Prior to, I think he was Deuce. Yeah. So like, there's two different things. So like with Snuka, he had good in ring, but something about him being in the ring didn't seem believable to me. As far as like, he just didn't look like he belonged on TV to me. In the sense of there were like in ring wrestling wise, he was clean. There's nothing there. But I was just saying like nothing about him screamed superstar type deal. And then when they separated him and Deuce and Domino, or separated him from the tag team and started bringing them out in random matches every now and then, he had a good look for the most part, but he wore this weird cutoff shirt. And then he would wrestle in the shirt. And I was like, this just doesn't look like it's not a good look. It's not making you look like, hey, I want to be here. I want to give you the best type presentation type deal. And not saying you can't look that way on TV with a t-shirt, because very much I wrestled with a t-shirt for years. But something about the shirt he was wearing just was not working with what he was wearing wrestling wise, and it just gave him an awkward look. And then for him not to really shine like on microphone or promos or anything like that to really kind of accentuate the character kind of works. But Manu, however, so in my head, I'm thinking, okay, Manu must be kind of like the same thing. Maybe that's why they stopped using him. But I really don't get it with why he didn't have a bigger career, because his in-ring was solid. He wasn't bad when they let him talk. He had personality. I enjoyed, like, he didn't have a lot of matches where he wrestled, but the time he did, the stuff he was doing looked good to me. And I felt like there were so many random things they did where they felt like there should have been some type of follow-up and then maybe furthering of people's careers. So like,
yeah,
the Legacy thing happens, right? Randy Orton's looking for his people. He tells Cody, Manu, and Snuka, hey, if you lose, you're out. Because he had already punted DiBiase Jr. in the head for the fake out later on. Cody wins. Manu loses. Snuka wins. The next week, it's a tag match, Cody and Snuka versus somebody. Cody gets the pin. They kick Snuka out because Cody won technically and Snuka didn't. Manu and Snuka take that personally. Now they're saying they're going to jump Randy, and Cody has to pick a side. And they even got an extra helper, Ted DiBiase Jr., to come help jump Randy, right? Mm-hmm. They come out, turns out DiBiase's with Randy Orton, they jump Manu and Snuka. So naturally, what should happen next? A match, right?
Yeah.
No, that's it. You don't see Snuka or Manu no more. That's it.
What?
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
They got DiBiase turned
on. It's just a 2v2. That would make sense.
Yeah, no, it was just they were gone. They showed the recap the next week on Raw, and after that, you don't see Manu or Snuka no more. Well, you don't see Snuka until he drops Taker on the dive in a couple months, but you don't see Manu anymore. He's just gone. Like,
yeah.
But that's twice with Cody that happened, where there should have been some type of follow up when him and Hardcore Holly were champs.
Yeah.
And DiBiase comes in, and it turns out him and Cody are actually tag partners, and then they attack Hardcore to become tag champs. Hardcore Holly doesn't come back for his lick back. Yeah. That's it. He's gone. I haven't seen Hardcore Holly since DiBiase and him jumped him. And I was just like, okay, I get if you guys were done.
I don't know if he ever comes back after that.
I think that's it. He's gone. I don't think we see him anymore. And I was like, okay, even if his contract was expiring or you guys knew you were about to let him go or whatever, still finish that out. Like, because just like, as a grown man, if somebody does that to me, I'm going to try and get my lick back. Like, so just like realistically, especially Hardcore Holly having the reputation he had, of being like the tough guy, the guy that was going to put his hands on anybody who disrespected him, there should have been at least a match blow off of that.
Yeah.
Granted, I know he didn't have Crash anymore because Crash had already passed for years prior before. But there's just a little bit of thought. There was a way to work it to where at least he tries to get his lick back and puts them over on the way out as kind of like, you know, all right, guys, you guys are good to go. But maybe they had that plan and he just didn't want to do it. I don't know what the situation. Once again, these are reasons why I would like to know what the behind the scenes
keeps you up at night.
Very much so. Very much so.
Awesome. I could probably talk about 2000 SmackDown and Raw probably all night. Sure, Christian could too, but we want to let you get back to your PlayStation. So I have a question I ask every week. Who do you think more people should know about? You've already mentioned a few from Raw and SmackDown. You could throw those in there too, but like your peers and people that need that you want to elevate to the next level for them.
Okay. Well, I did already mention Big Time Yaya.
Yeah.
The gifted one. That's definitely one. Ian Maxwell as well. Let's see. Man. There's guys like Cam Jackson. Okay, I know you guys have interviewed him and people have probably said his name. But I just want to point out that people don't realize how hard it is to have a bad match with Cam Jackson. And that's just because the man, he knows how to connect with the crowd, whether he's baby or heel. He knows where he needs to be. He knows what level he needs to be on, and he knows how to get them to the level they need to be on for him to have the match that the promoter wants him to have. I feel like Cam Jackson is probably one of the guys in this business who, especially in this area, who is getting overlooked by a lot of people. A lot of people, not saying they don't recognize his talent, they're not giving him opportunities. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People will say, oh, Cam Jackson's good, but then you'll see all these promotions coming up in the Carolina area and they're booking all the same Carolina guys over and over and over again. And Cam Jackson, in the bigger promotions that run in North Carolina, is not one of those mainstays, and I feel like he should be. Jordan Holt, and some of these are going to seem kind of biased because these are my guys, but still, the work speaks for itself. Jordan Holt and Zay Vega, they're two members of my Ugly Gang group that I'm building at the moment. The reason why they were picked was because when they started training, I saw something that I just did not see in a lot of new guys coming into the business. And that was a very dedicated hunger to getting better as quick as possible, learning everything they could as quick as possible so that that way they could elevate their game and start to learn even more. And they never stopped learning. So seeing that from Jump Street, I knew they had what it takes to be in the business. How they apply it is up to them. Mm-hmm. But seeing how they've grown in-ring wise since they first started training, those two, singles or as tag, they're going to make some waves if they make the right moves in the business. And I think people need to realize that. Let's shout some girls out too. Definitely want to shout out. I'm assuming it's Erica. My hero always throws me off. Erica Damian. Okay. Her, because who do you know coming into the business with that much dedication to their character work right off gate? Before she even had her first match, I was invested into her career because of all the work she put into the camera stuff that she was doing, building the character, getting the hype behind her built up before she had her first match. That is just, man, and for her to be 18, that's a mentality you're not going to see on a lot of 18-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And she's a female who's not afraid to cut promos, which is very rare at this point in time because I love women's wrestling and I will put it over any day of the week. But my God, the lack of promos from women wrestlers highly agitates me because it could take them so much further if they just put more time in it, but it just doesn't seem like they see the value in it. So to find someone like her who does is refreshing. So I'll always put her over. Let's see some other people I can put over that are really, really good. Jada Stone, sorry, wrong Jada. Jesus Christ. You don't have to edit that out. People know who she is. They know who she is. But
okay.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah, Jada Stone. Let's see. Are we just doing local, or is it just people like that I know personally?
Anybody, yeah.
It's in the bill. Okay, sweet.
Local.
I think there's a wrestler up in New York for one of the promotions I work for with Battle Club. Her name is Jess Cosmic, who she's still pretty new into the business, but she seems to be picking it up pretty quickly. And her in-ring work it's leaps and bounds ahead of where it should be for her to be so new into the business. Obviously, still room for growth, as everybody has, myself included. But I mean, I've been on a couple shows with her up in New York, and I can't say I've seen a match where after the match I was like, I don't know about that one. Like, it was all good to better. She'll be at the Ladies Night Out show that's coming up. This will probably air after it, but there's a Ladies Night Out show this week that she's on in Winston-Salem. I think at the A&L Training Center is where they're doing it. So she's dope. Jasmine Howe is somebody who still has ways to go, but she's making major improvements, and she's working hard to get to the level she needs to be at as far as going to training and things like that. I think in a year's time, she could be somebody people need to keep an eye out for. And then I always got to shout out my homie Heidi Howitzer. She teams with Max in Wasteland War Party.
Yeah.
And Max from the time I met Max was always someone. Also, I put over Max as well. But from the time I met Max, people just naturally gravitated to her because she has a look and presentation about her. They have a look. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't mess up their identification. They have a look and presentation about themselves that speaks for itself. You're not going to see it anywhere else. Well, we'll leave it at that. You're not going to see it anywhere else. And then their tag partner, Heidi, has a very, very similar presentation. But her personality is so... You ever seen the show Our Real Monsters?
Yeah, from Nickelodeon.
Yeah. Her personality fits that show. Like, it's so big and like sporadic and all over the place, and you're just like, when you meet her, you're just like, man, you are a lot to take in right now. But once you really get to know her and then watch her in-ring work, she puts it all together, and it is something I don't think gets enough attention. Honestly, I think she should have a pretty big year this year. Somebody to keep an eye out for. You've had some people on here in the past. Brittany Jade, obviously, is somebody who's getting a lot of attention as well. No, I don't have to put Noel over because every company in the world is going to put Noel over. John Davidson. But when I tell you, as far as big men go, you're not going to find anybody that works harder. I mean that when it comes to Noel. In ring and in the gym, brother is committed. And people will say it's unfair that he gets the opportunities that he gets, but at the end of the day, whether you think it's unfair or not, he's going to work his butt off to make sure that he follows through on the opportunities he gets and earns them, even if you don't think he's earned them yet. So I say keep an eye out for him. I feel like he's probably going to be big. Obviously, Lucky Ali. I have no idea why he's not signed yet, but that's what everybody says.
That feels like the quote of the week.
Yeah, like literally. Drew Hood, I'll put over any day of the week. And Diego Hill, man. Diego Hill. And KJ Sidney. K-Django. I'm going to put him over because he's trained at high spots first with us. And then ended up switching schools and going a couple different places. And the growth I've seen from him since he left high spots to now, ridiculous. He was at the show with us on Saturday, and I sat in the back and watched his match intentionally to see it, just to see how far it's come. And when I say I was impressed, and I don't get impressed easily, but I'll definitely put him over any day of the week. Right now, brother's in the zone. And I call him Teej. I'm not 100% sure what his work name is. He's a Palmetto kid. TJ McKay. Y'all know TJ. I'm trying not to mess his name up. Mikhail, I believe. Mikhail. TJ. I'll tag him. I'll send you a message with his name on it so you can see.
Okay.
To make sure we're on the same page on who he is. But I've only seen like clips and stuff that he does in like his matches for Palmetto, or I think he did maybe a title belt scramble at some point as well for title belt pro that runs here in Charlotte. I want to see him get more opportunities because I feel like a lot of times you'll have people that are going to be natural standouts, and you'll have people that need opportunities to prove they can be a standout. And I feel like he just needs an opportunity to prove he can be a standout. I feel like if he gets the right opportunity, I think he'll surprise a lot of people, like 100%. And I'll put one of my paydays on it. Don't specify which one, just in case I need the money. It might be one of the cheaper paydays, but I think
a payday.
Yeah,
I'll put a payday. Payday of my selection.
It's the candy bar payday.
It's a payday.
Still a payday.
As long as I meet the obligation of a payday being paid, But I think he's somebody that people should keep an eye on for the future of like big man wrestling, especially down here in like South Mid-Atlantic region as well. I feel like we're gonna get off of this, and I'm gonna be like, I forgot them, blah blah blah. So charge to the heart, charge to my head, not to my heart. I think that's a statement, right?
It is now.
Yeah, whatever. Just
we'll put it on the t-shirt by tonight. Yeah. It's fine.
There you go. So I'll say, yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, I think that's a good stopping point on
nice
for
list.
me. Yeah.
It's a great list. Okay. Well, this has been great. We're gonna have to have you back on, and maybe we'll just like review some 2000 shows with you because that's something we used to do, and
that's how we started. We would pick like
Raw 800 or
the McMahon's Millions, like would cover like random episodes of Raw.
So maybe we bring you back to do one of those.
Yeah, if y'all ever want to do that, I'm definitely down to do that.
Awesome.
Want to bring me back? I enjoy it. I enjoyed this one. This was one of the more pleasurable interviews I've been on. So
glad to hear it.
So glad, man.
That's our goal.
Well, this has been Live Laugh Lariat. Thank you so much.